Welcome into the Verizon postgame show after the Philadelphia Eagles get absolutely embarrassed at MetLife Stadium in the Meadowlands, taking it on the chin tonight. A 34-17 loss to the New York Giants. Play calling, offensive line, Jalen Hurts, defensive contain, an impossibility against Jackson Dart and Cam Sattebo tonight. Welcome into the Verizon postgame show. I'm Mark Farzetta along with Seth Joyner and Derek Gunn. This one was an absolute gut punch, unfortunately, on a night of gut punches on the Philadelphia sports scene. Seth, there's a lot of breakdown tonight, a lot of correct. They got 10 days to do it, and I don't think any parking lot meetings are going to find solutions to the problems that the Philadelphia Eagles had tonight against the Giants.
I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you. I don't. Like, I normally chart everything. You know, and by the time we got to the third quarter, I stopped charting.
Yeah.
Like, this is just nonsense. Absolutely nonsensical. I got a list of lack ofs as far as this team is concerned. In the first place I'm going to start with the coaches, okay? Because when you see a team lose a game the way that they lost last week and then go into a game like this and to watch them play, like, I don't want to hear any damn excuses about Jalen Carter being injured and Quinyon Mitchell going down and everything else. That football team destroyed you with two freaking rookies. Mm-hmm. With two rookies, okay? That's what it is. And I don't care what Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo and Jalen Hurts, they're all guilty here. A.J. Brown, they're all guilty. We have an offensive line that's supposed to be one of the best offensive lines in the National Football League, and a high school team could have beat the hell out of them tonight the way that they played. Jordan Mailata, Toth, they just got pushed around like they've never played football before, and I don't understand it. Howie Roseman greatly over-exaggerated the talent level of these players that he put in this secondary, okay? Because Adoree Jackson and Keely Ringo do not belong in the National Football League the way that they play. They play scared. They play like they have no idea what they're doing. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I cannot believe this. I cannot believe what I just witnessed. And people have been saying for I don't know how long, oh, you know, this team reminds us of the 2023 Eagles. You know what this team reminds me of? This team reminds me of the 2018 Doug Peterson team, okay, that showed back up after winning the Super Bowl and laid an egg, and a year later, the whole staff was gone with a new quarterback and everything. This is more what this team looks like than the 2013 team. That team at least fought and tried, okay? The talent level on this team has been severely misjudged. Our rush guys can't get pressure. We don't get off blocks. We're undisciplined. Can I go through my lack of? Lack of effort. Lack of want to. Lack of preparedness. You're a professional. You get paid millions of dollars. Some players on this team get paid $1 million plus per game. How are you unprepared to do the job that you're being paid for, okay? Offensive creativity, severe lack of it. You run the same damn plays every single week thinking that defenses are so dumb that they're just going to let you have success. They know what you're running it before you run it. There's no fight to right the ship. When things go sideways, guess what they do? They give up. I seen players give up tonight. I seen players run up to tackle Cam Sattebo and act like they were scared to put him down on the ground. This team gave up on Nick Sirianni tonight. Jalen's knowledge of the offense, there's a lack of it. Because you cannot tell me that when he drops back and he's got Saquon Barkley with Dallas Goedert in front of him, and all he's got to do is throw him the damn ball and he takes off. Like, he don't know that man is over there. You mean to tell me that you don't understand enough about your own offense that you don't know where everybody is on the field? And lastly, discipline and the lack of fundamental and technical elements of the game of football. If you're on the line of scrimmage, your job is to contain the quarterback. What makes you think that you can beat a guy inside after the quarterback has scorched your ass for 50 yards in the first half alone? But you still go inside and you lose contain? Are you like brain numb? I can go on and on and on, but I'm not on this damn show by myself. So I'm going to let my blood pressure calm down and let my co-host take over from there.
Mr. Derek Gunser, on an absolutely horrible night, what were some of your, what was it, lack-ofs?
You could tell they didn't want any parts of Sattebo after that first quarter. The way they tackled the angles was poor. Poor. You learned this stuff in training camp, and they came out here and did this. And then not just Sattebo, after he wore them down, one of the defining plays was late in the fourth quarter when Singletary took the route to the outside on the left and kept moving. He's not a big running back. You had 4 Eagles hit him, and he still picked up a first down running the football. I don't like to use the word quit, but I think this team was on the bus by midway of the fourth quarter. Mentally, they were on the bus. They were gone. You know, this was a Giants team, even without Jalen Carter coming into this game, even losing Quinyon Mitchell. If you look up and down their roster, the Eagles have the superior talent on paper, but as we know, you don't play the game on paper. But the Giants played like they were an undefeated football team. The Eagles played like they had run a football game all year. You would have thought the Eagles were 0 for the season, and the Giants were 1 for the season the way they played. I don't understand how in the span of 5 days, even if you don't practice, you're looking at a lot of film before you hit that field again 5 days later after losing that game to Denver to make so-called corrections. And you played worse than you did 5 days ago. In the span of 5 days, you got beat by a quarterback with less than 2 years of NFL experience, and tonight a quarterback with only 3 games of professional experience. Those last 2 quarterbacks look like Aaron Rodgers and Joe Montana out there, the way they were picking this Eagles defense apart. And I don't understand it. And I understand Adoree Jackson and Keely Ringo are not frontline cornerbacks, but you're playing against Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, who is a speedster, loved watching him in college, had not caught a pass all season long, has a big game for himself tonight. And you had a guy named Gunner who was tearing him up on special teams. And it's like, you talk all this mess all week long about we know what we need to do. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because you went out here, you look worse tonight than you did against the Denver Broncos, who, oh, by the way, have a really good defense. The Giants' defense was ranked 26th in the National Football League. You held the Eagles tonight to under 330 yards of offense, number one. The Giants, I will say this, playing at home, they held the Kansas City Chiefs to 22 points, and they held a pretty good Chargers offense to 18 points. So obviously this is the Giants team that plays a lot differently at home than they do on the road, but they're still inferior in talent. A 2-man game, 2 rookies, took it to the Eagles tonight and embarrassed the Philadelphia Eagles in front of a national audience. Let me just throw some stats at you here. The Giants offense was averaging 320 yards a game. They get 366 tonight. They average running the football 117 yards a game. They get $172 tonight. Points per game, 17.4. They get 34 points tonight. And you held a defending Super Bowl champion, oh, by the way, with an offense intact, minus a few players who were hurt, but backups who have played enough professional football to fill the gaps. You held them to 17 points. 17 points. What else can you say?
Well, I'll say this. You guys have both used the word quit. And whether or not the Philadelphia Eagles quit, I don't know. You guys would know more, so Seth, you would certainly know more than I. But I have never wanted a team to quit rather than them just not being good enough to win a football game against a division rival that was having 2 rookies be the star of the show against this defense. Number one, Vic Fangio is supposed to be the saving grace of all this. Defensive adjustments, were they out there? And I don't want to hear about the injuries. There are other guys on this field that are, as you mentioned, Seth, paid good money to perform at a very high level. They did not do that tonight. You did not see the adjustments, defensively speaking, from the guy that is supposed to be the best coach on this staff, defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. Then I look at the quarterback in Jalen Hurts. One of the things I learned, Seth, about the year that you pointed out, Philadelphia Eagles just laid that egg with Carson Wentz still as their quarterback. Doug Peterson was later fired at the end of that year. One thing I learned from that year, as a quarterback, you can't be a big part of the problem. You have to act as a very nice deodorant when everything else around you stinks. And you did not see that tonight from Jalen Hurts, nor have you seen it throughout the entire season for more than 2 quarters at a time. And tonight, before the half, you see Jalen Hurts miss a wide-open Devontae Smith, where you had an opportunity to flip the script and take a 24-20 lead on the New York Giants, but Jalen missed the throw. Time to throw, he missed the throw. And then with the Eagles still doing the thing that apparently is the main thing now, which is just trying to find a way to win, what do you see end up happening? You see Jalen Hurts make an absolutely egregious throw. You could talk about the route. We'll break it down as well by Jahan Dotson. But Jalen Hurts stared down Dotson on a corner that had outside contain and then threw to the corner's side, the inside as opposed to outside on the out route to Dotson. It gets picked off and taken back 68 yards, and then that ends up being what Jalen Hurts likes to call for his offense, the dagger. But unfortunately, this one went into the backs of the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts has not had a strong year. Jalen Hurts has struggled mightily. If you want to blame Kevin Patullo for that, fine. But this is about accountability. And I know that's something everyone likes to pound their chest on. Accountability. Jalen Hurts has not played to the standard this year for anything more than 2 quarters that he has set for himself and what we saw him play to in the Super Bowl last year, in the second half against the Rams, in the first half against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then even today, he looked like in the first quarter and a half, he looked like he was settling into a nice rhythm. If you were to name a turning point for this one, I would say it would be Jalen Hurts' miss to Devontae Smith that would have put the good vibes going back in the Eagles' favor. Now, whether or not the Eagles' defense would still be able to get to the mountaintop in this game, that is very doubtful. But there are so many problems, so many lack ofs, so many WTHs you could throw at this Eagles team tonight on a very bitter night in Philadelphia sports. This was a game that a lot of people were going to look at and say, well, at least they'll get the Giants tonight. And they got their doors blown off by a coach that's hanging on by a thread right now in New York. This was absolutely, utterly embarrassing. And you know what? I'll say it again. I hope they quit tonight. Because when you quit, you get a kick in the ass and maybe you'll get back to it. My overall concern with this team, they're just not good enough.
I think they're fat cats. I think they're living off their Super Bowl championship.
Oh, I thought they ignored it. I thought they forgot they won that Super Bowl.
That's what they told us, didn't they?
Yeah, that doesn't do anything for you this year, Gunner.
That's what I mean. Here's the one positive. They're still 4-2. They're leading the division. But that's because the division is so mediocre. It's the only reason they're leading the division. Look at all the games they played up to this point. They are lucky to be 4-2 right now.
They're leading the division, but the NFL. That stands for not for long.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Because the way that they're playing. Listen, this is what happened. Because it's a short week, D-Gun, they did all these damn walkthroughs.
Yep. To save the bodies.
To save the body for the Thursday night game. Okay? And they went up there thinking that they were good enough to just show up and the Giants would lay down. You know what the Giants did? The Giants looked at the game film from the previous 5 games, especially last week's game, and Daboll walked in to his team and said, guys, the Super Bowl champions are gettable, okay? Now, it didn't start off that way, okay? But as time went on, I always say, if you don't kill an opponent, that opponent will heal up and hunt you down. Okay? And that's what you saw tonight. It's not that the Eagles ever really jumped out, but you gave them hope by letting them stay close. You gave them hope by letting them go in at halftime. You gave them hope, Jalen, by sliding before the half instead of getting the first down so you could get up and clock the damn ball instead of it being 4th and 2. See, to me, that's preparedness. Nick Sirianni, don't talk to me about situational football when you screw up every situation that you've been in all season long. You gave a team who did not have any business on the field with you hope, and they utterly destroyed you. Not on a Sunday where you could hide it, on Thursday Night Football in front of the whole world. You made yourself vulnerable for the rest of the season. And I can promise you, every other team on your schedule right now, they are coming for your ass. Because you want to know something? As a Super Bowl champions, you are now the hunted. You are no longer the hunted, the hunter, okay? So they coming in. The Giants are up in MetLife Stadium, and their fans, they acting like they won the damn Super Bowl. Because they just beat the defending champions. I mean, listen, Jalen didn't play worth a dime, okay? The stats will say something different. Oh, he was close to 300 yards. Man, stop it. Stop it. Some of that you got in garbage time, you know? When they won first down, they converted. I don't know what the final number is, Farzy, but I think in the first half they only converted one first down. It's like you see these things, and we talk about them, and I know they hear us because they got rabbit ears over there at the NovaCare Center. They hear and know everything that we say, not just me, but you, D. Gunn, and you, Mark, and everybody else who has an opinion about the Philadelphia Eagles, okay? And not that they should believe or do what I say that they should do, but some of these things are just common sense football. It ain't rocket science. You don't have to be a Phi Beta Kappa to understand that, you know, this is the smart thing to do. But I sit here and I watch these coaches that have coached in the NFL all these years with all this experience and all of this supposed knowledge, and they have no remedy for what ails this football team. And you know what it does? It takes me back once again, okay, to 2023. When a reporter asked Nick Sirianni, hey, Coach, what's the remedy? What do you got to do to fix the team? And you know what he said? He said, if I knew what the remedy was, don't you think I would have fixed it by now? And I said to myself right then and there, I'm like, and I've given Nick a lot of credit for what he accomplished last year. But when he said that, I was like, how do you say that? Do you realize that there's 31 other teams that just heard you say that you have no remedy for what ails your football team as a head coach? It's one thing for that thought to be in your head. It's another thing for that to come out of your mouth. So I can't wait to see what the hell he got to say tonight.
And the point last week, if you remember, was we're not looking for blame. We're looking for solutions. So the search for solutions continues after this complete butt-whooping by the New York Giants, unfortunately.
And the search for solutions is worse than it was 5 days ago. I mean, seriously. At least Denver, because we knew Denver could score points. Giants couldn't get out of their own way. They had 5 turnovers last week against the Saints, who hadn't won a game all season.
The Saints.
Hadn't won a game all season. They played flawless.
They fans run around with paper bags on their head. They so damn bad. The Saints.
Tonight, the Giants played a flawless game of football. They attacked Jalen. They dared him to throw the football. They dared him to run. And I understand a lot of times the Giants drop back in zone coverage and, you know, they fake the blitz and drop back in zone. And Jalen still had a problem finding receivers sitting down in spots. And I don't know, other than Dallas Goedert, if any receiver sat down in spots. It's hard to tell unless you're at the game and you see the overhead view. I don't understand how you don't have an automatic counter. The better teams consistently have an automatic counter when teams are flooding the zone with 6, 7 people dropping back. You automatically have a game plan for that. It's a second nature. It's a natural instinct. It's like this team is trying to figure it out every week.
No, you know what they're doing? And Mark and I talked about it, you know, while we were watching the game. The Eagles' offensive staff, they don't have routes and they don't have plays that are based off of what the defense is showing.
No.
They got a playbook, and they got their plays. And they run it, and they don't care whether you think you're good enough to stop them or not. They're just going to run their stuff. For instance, the interception that Jalen threw, okay? The most egregious mistake is he looked at him the whole time. Now, you're talking about a quarterback that's in his 5th year. You should not be making that mistake, okay? There's a center a center field player, look him off, and then come back. But the cornerback's lined up with outside technique, and he's looking at you the entire play while you stare at the guy who's running the route. That's just part of it, okay? The second part is the cornerback lined up outside technique, okay? So if you want to run an out route, you got to press it in to get the cornerback to move over so that you can get leverage, so you can dominate his leverage. But if he's standing outside and you just run your route, you're running right to him. It's a dead giveaway. So where's the adjustment? The minute that Jalen seen him line up outside, okay, he should have pushed him out and just turned inside or run a bang 8 right now. It's a touchdown. So you mean to tell me that we don't have that automatically built in?
No.
Every other team in the National Football League does. When Travis Kelce runs a route, guess what he does? He's always in option mode. You want to know why? Because he's always operating off of the guy who's covering him. He's operating off his leverage. But we run our routes. There's no stem at the top of the routes. If it's an out route, we run 5 yards and banana it out. So we don't make the DB or the guy that's in coverage, we don't make him guess at all. We're telegraphing our routes. Somebody tell me what it is that Aaron Moorhead, the wide receiver of the Philadelphia Eagles, is coaching. Every other wide receiver in the National Football League runs a stem at the top of his route except for us. If AJ's running an out route, it's a plane out. If he's running an in route, it's a plane in. They never stem the route at the top to create separation. Then we want to know why they're not getting separation.
And on top of that, he runs the out route to the short side of the field. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go.
They're on the left
Once he
half
planted his foot and turned, he's right there at the sideline. He has nowhere to go.
So where do the Eagles go? Because, I mean, everyone, I'm looking at the chat. By the way, unfortunately, Bailey Livesey's not with us this week. She's off this week. However, we'll be monitoring the chat throughout, and I see a lot of people already popping off with, and I understand it as well. Kevin Patullo. The question still hasn't been asked. Why now for Kevin Patullo? You passed over him for Brian Johnson. I know some people will look at he had a close relationship with Jalen Hurts, so that's why he got the play calling responsibilities. They pass over him again when they went to Kellen Moore and they won a Super Bowl. That worked out. But now Kevin Patullo somehow is now apparently ready for this job, but really he has yet to prove it. So I don't think they're going to fire Patullo after this game. I don't think that's going to happen in the next 10 days. I don't think Nick Sirianni is going to do that to his boy, essentially. So is there any glimmer of hope for somebody else to take over the offense? Is there anybody? Would Nick Sirianni, and I'm not championing this cause, by the way.
No.
But is there anybody else that could take over that responsibility?
He's not taking over the offense. You go back when Shane Steichen took it over.
So we're stuck.
In the Super Bowl year. Nick was so terrible calling plays that he was forced to turn the play calling over to Kevin.
Shane Steichen.
To Shane Steichen.
Well, that was 4 games into his first year as a coach.
And then Steichen became the full-time OC when they went to the Super Bowl in 22. Okay? So that's not an option because we already know what that looks like.
So we have to sit and stew in this, unfortunately.
Listen, we ain't getting a new OC no more than we're getting 2 new cornerbacks.
Right.
We're stuck with what we got. And I'm trying to figure out.
There's nothing on the open market.
Jacorian Bennett, what is the deal? Like, can he not learn the defense? Is that it? Like, how can this guy that runs a 4.3 40 not get on the field with the crap that we're watching with Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson? He must be dumb as a bag of rocks or just plainly can't pick up the defense because I think that I can go and play corner for the Philadelphia Eagles right now.
Can you imagine what Justin Jefferson must be thinking right now, which is their next opponent? Can you imagine what he's looking at? Can you even with Carson Wentz at quarterback, Can you imagine what the Vikings wide receivers are thinking right now? Looking at this mess? Because if there was a decent cornerback out there to be had, Howie would have tried to pick him off by now. There's nothing on the open market. What you have in-house, and we don't know how long Quinn is going to be out of with this hamstring thing. You know, we know there's so many different degrees of hamstring injuries, and I'm hoping it's a minor. And thank God the Eagles have extended time off now to heal up some bodies and get ready. Jalen Carter, Quinion to get ready for that game in Minnesota. But what if he's out for an extended period of time? And we don't know. What if he tore something in the hamstring? We don't know. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine if he's not on the field and you got to put Keeley and Adoree out there week in and week out for the next 2-3 weeks?
Not good.
He really, really, really underestimated the talent level of this defense. You know, and listen, I get what Howie was doing. We had to get younger for salary cap reasons. Like, you weren't signing Milton Williams to $100+ million. You weren't signing Josh Sweat to a $100+ million deal. Slay was cooked and already done, okay? C.J. Gardner-Johnson became a problem that you knew at some point in time the Eagles would wash their hands of and move on, okay? But instead of going to bring in a veteran presence with 2 young cornerbacks that you just drafted last year, you relied on 2 guys to battle it out. One who showed in 2 other places that he's been that he couldn't get the job done, and one that you had major reservations about to begin with. You know, defensive ends. We lose Nolan Smith. Now all of a sudden we get no pressure off the end. I'm watching Josh Uche, you know, dancing a jig while the guy who's supposed to block him was like, "Oh, you're not going to block? Well, I'm going to help over here." And he's standing over there doing this. I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Mark, what the hell is he doing? Go get the damn quarterback, man." I mean, it's like a comedy of errors when you watch this football team, because it's on the offensive line is one player makes a mistake after another. When you get the other 4 right, you get one more that makes a mistake that kills a play. And if anybody knows anything about especially offensive football, all it takes is for one guy not to do his job. But they consistently make one mistake after the next, I should say. And on defense, it's like, we can't tackle, we can't cover, we can't get off blocks. Our defensive tackles, they sitting there playing chicken, you know, with the offensive line. You know, lock your arms out and get the guy off you. I almost cussed, man.
Well, real quick, before we go to our first break, we have to talk about the Mid-Penn Bank player to bank on. And unfortunately, gentlemen, I believe this is the 2nd straight week we've had to talk about an opponent as the player to bank on, and that is Cam Sattebo with what he was able to do against this Philadelphia Eagles defense today. Absolutely lighting it up with 19 yards on the ground, 5.2 yards per carry, and 3 touchdowns. Seth, you said before the game that this would be the guy, and here he is, the guy that the Philadelphia Eagles defense was unable to stop.
I knew it because, you know, listen, you have to – when you have a rookie quarterback, his best friend is a run game, okay? And Cam Sattebo, like I said, you know, he's going to bring the thunder. I told you guys in pregame that he is just about as close to the throwback of John Riggins, but with better speed, you know, that I've ever seen. And he ain't scared of nobody. And nobody brought the thunder. Nobody brought the wood. Nobody sent the message. And he just, play after play after play, just destroyed defensive players and beat them to the point where they didn't even want to tackle him anymore. 19 carries for 98 yards and 3 touchdowns? Like, we sitting watching the game, I'm like, "Mark, this is a touchdown right here." They handed off. There's Sattebo go in the end zone. Like, nobody wanted to step up and put a hat on this guy. That's coward-ass football, man. That's coward-ass football.
And once again, running backs are running through the middle of this Eagles defense, which is supposed to be the heart of the defense, their ability to stop the run. When was the last time they won the battle in the trenches? I'm going back through the games, and I'm trying to figure it out. When was the last time they won the battle of the trenches? It's been a while.
It hasn't been this year.
It has not been once this year they've won the battle of the trenches. That's even with Jalen Carter in there. And I don't understand why. I understand you got younger at a number of positions. I get that. Now, I understand you don't have Nakobe Dean. I get that. But you still have enough talent on this football team on the field week in and week out to put a much better effort out there than what we had to watch through the first 6 games of the season.
No, you know what the problem is? The problem is D-Gun. Well, they did. They won the battle.
Which one?
Well, Dallas had 22 carries for 119 yards. I'm sorry.
And that's with CeeDee Lamb's drops, by the way.
I wanted to go back. But the problem is that, you know, it's the same. It's the age-old problem, you know, with the Eagles' defense. And the problem is they cannot stand up stoutly against the run in their 4-man front, which forces them to go to their 5-man front, and then you either rush 5 and you play man behind it, or you rush 4 and you got to drop one of the guys on the edge. I'm also not a big fan either of defenses that don't have at least one true defensive end on their roster, okay? Josh Sweat was a true defensive end. What a true defensive end is a guy that's like 6'4", 6'5", about 265 to 285 pounds, okay? You got all of these outside linebackers, these, you know, 6'2", 6'3", you know, 250, 245. You ain't stopping nobody from running like that, because all I got to do is get two tight ends on your ass and drive you to Jersey. You know what I'm saying? So they got all of these guys that look the same, with the same body type, that all want to get up the field and rush the passer, but none of them want to play the damn run, you know, all with the same body type. That's the problem I have with the way that this defense is structured. You know, and they try to go get that in Zadarius Smith, because you're not going to see him drop. But dude's tank is limited, so they can only give him so much. They're not going to get that much from him. Go and find you a damn defensive end that's about 285 pounds that you can line up on the strong side and realize that he can either dominate a defensive end, a tight end, or a tackle, okay? Because these edge guys that we got, they don't get any pressure. They don't play the run. Nothing. We're getting nothing. I mean, if we looked up statistically, okay, and combine all the guys on the edge, how many sacks we got? How many pressures we got? How many tackles we got, for that matter?
No. As you mentioned earlier, it's the talent being overvalued, unfortunately. When we come back, we'll break that down a little bit further. Also, we want to hear from Nick Sirianni. We also want to hear from Jalen Hurts just about what went wrong in this game, you know, besides everything. That's when we return. This is the Verizon postgame show on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel, as well as 6abc.com.
There's a number on the screen.
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 There is a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Verizon. Coming up in a little bit, we want to hear from Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, but first I'm seeing this by Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network. Now, a lot was made about this meeting between A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, and Jalen Hurts, and we put some stock into that in the pregame show, only to realize later that meeting was held in a parking lot there at the NovaCare Complex. All right, now I am seeing this from Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network putting it out there that A.J. Brown, after the game, was asked about meeting with Jalen Hurts. Saquon Barkley this week repeatedly says he didn't recall any meeting.
What?
When told Hurts and Barkley confirmed it, he says, you'd have to talk to them. As for the Eagles' offense, we're still trying to find our identity. So now A.J. Brown is saying that meeting apparently never took place. Either he's just playing dumb. I mean, this is a meeting that was reported by Jimmy Kempski that went on for hours, quote unquote. And apparently it never happened.
Well, I believe it happened. If Saquon and Jalen, who doesn't give you much of anything, confirm that it happened, I'm inclined to believe those two more so than A.J. I believe A.J. was trying to deflect it because he didn't want to talk about it, plain and simple. But you could have used better terminology to say, you know what, I'm not talking about that. We just lost the football game. Don't sit there and say, I don't know what you're talking about. The meeting ever took place. When two of your teammates confirmed it took place.
Seth, what does that tell you?
Why does he keep adding fuel to his own fire?
I don't know.
You know what? I'm too hot tonight to comment on it.
Fair enough.
Because the last time I said something about AJ, it got blown out of proportion. So I'm just going to leave it alone.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's get into the coaching a little bit more here. You talked about the routes. You talked about Aaron Moorhead, the Eagles wide receivers coach, for not teaching the right technique there on that Jahan Dotson play that ended up going as a 68-yard interception return off of Jalen Hurts. Also, a lot of things going wrong on that, a bad throw and a stare down from Jalen Hurts at the same time. However, the play calling at the end of the third quarter, I'll say this, gentlemen, confused me. Last week, you're up 17-3 on the Denver Broncos. And what do, Derek Gunn? You throw the football for some reason. This time, you're down 10 points, 27-17 towards the end of that third quarter. And what did they decide to do in this situation? Seth Jordan, did they decide to throw the football? No. In this situation, they decide to run the football. They're on their own 12-yard line. They give it to Saquon Barkley to run it up the middle twice, and he gets stuffed. I'll ask you this very technical question, Seth. What the hell?
You know what? I'm not going to say any names, but I was on a team one time with a first-time offensive coordinator. And what I learned that first game watching him is that he wasn't ready for the task that he had been handed. There was literally a timeout call on the sideline because the play clock was running down. And the quarterback is standing with his hands like this outside the huddle, okay? When you're a play caller, you have to have a plan 3, 4, 5 plays ahead of schedule. That allows your quarterback to get the call early, understanding what his checks can be or what they should be, when he gets to the line of scrimmage. But when I watch this offense, the clock is always running down to 5 seconds. 4 seconds before they actually snap the ball, okay? That tells me that the play is coming in late, okay? That doesn't give, and by design, maybe they're doing that because they just want Jalen to run the play. That maybe they don't want him to check out. That's another option, to kind of think about. But when it consistently happens, I'm more inclined to believe that the offensive coordinator doesn't have a plan. Play by play by play. And then when I look at them, from a strategic position, I don't see the marriage between the run game and the pass game formationally. That's what offensive coordination is, okay? I'm going to line up in 11 personnel, and we're going to run the stretch play to the strong side. I'm going to come back next series, I'm going to line up in 11 personnel, and I'm going to run play action off the stretch look and get Jalen deep back with a combination route based upon the coverages that you're showing me that actually beats the coverage. D-Gun, the thing that I don't understand is that when you watch every other team in the National Football League, they can scheme guys wide open. Our wide receivers, almost every single pass that they catch is contested. Tell me, how is that possible?
I believe it is a poorly designed playbook. I believe it's not coached enough in practices, day in and day out, in terms of how to gain better separation. Although we did see one play where Devontae faked out the corner and was wide open, and your quarterback missed him. You can't miss a throw like that. You cannot. When you play in a game where one play can define winning or losing a game. You can't miss a throw like that. You've played enough football to make that throw in your sleep. You practiced enough to make that throw in your sleep. And you missed that man wide open. That was a big factor in the game. It could have helped decide the game in your favor. But I don't think that, I said this after the Denver game. You know, the offensive brain trust, Sirianni, Patullo, Jalen, maybe Devontae, maybe Saquon. They need to get behind closed doors and stay there for a few hours and rip apart this playbook and rebuild this playbook. And I think it's too late for that now.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
In the season. You're 6 games into a season now. And I look at Saquon, first 2 Eagles offensive plays, 2 carries, 31 yards on 2 carries. 18-yard run, 13-yard run. I'm thinking he's about to bust the Giants for $150 minimum tonight. He finishes the game with 12 carries for 58 yards. And most of his carries up the middle again. Why do you continue to run this man up the middle? Very few times did you run him to the outside again. You've got to be smart enough as a coach in the National Football League to look at your schematics and say, if this isn't working, let's angle it just a little bit differently. Let's angle it, let's give the opposition some. Basically, the defense knows what you're running every play almost. The defense basically knows what, and Jalen, for some reason, if you notice, you talked about this on the pregame show, how Denver squeezed the pocket on Jalen so he couldn't get outside and run. Giants did the same thing for the most part. And when Jalen did take off and run to the outside, you notice how he had to drop back a little further just to get outside of that pocket, which thoroughly disrupted the play even more so. And your wide receivers are still not smart enough for the comeback routes to come get the ball. We even saw Giants receivers who haven't played that much for them this season come back when their quarterback was in trouble.
AJ came back for one.
Did he?
Yeah, you remember the one they called him out of bounds? They thought that he
Yeah,
called
you're right.
it.
You're right.
Yeah. But,
One play.
But
One play.
But Jalen gets out of the pocket, and he keeps running for the sideline like, you know, there's an infinite amount of room on the sideline. And what he doesn't realize is the more you run to the sideline, the more you condense the field, because it's a cardinal sin to throw the ball back across your body. So the more you scramble outside looking for receivers, the less likely you're going to get a receiver unless you have one to that side and he's coming back to you. But their thought processes are, when the play breaks down and Jalen breaks the pocket, everybody goes deep. They're trying to hit the home run. They want the explosive play, okay? So you very rarely get a guy that comes back. That's why you had AJ for once came back tonight, but the rest of the time, who else?
All right. I believe it's Nick Sirianni. It's Jalen Hurts at the podium right now. We're going to go to him live at MetLife Stadium.
Got to be better. I take ownership for it. You know, a lot of autonomy and a lot of opportunity there with the ball in my hands, and given those situations, I have to be wiser and more detailed with it. So always looking inward first, you know, looking inward on the things that I can control. And, you know, I see a lot of opportunity in this. I give a lot of credit to how they came out and played today. They played a very, 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 very well game, and wasn't good enough on our end.
What happened on the interception?
Bad ball. Bad ball.
When you say autonomy,
I'm sorry?
you said autonomy,
It means, you know, the autonomy, the ownership and everything that I have given, taking advantage of that and, you know, taking ownership of it and leading with it in the right way, going out there and executing. And I didn't execute well enough, you know, situationally, and obviously can't turn the ball over in the red zone. So I'll look into the tape, and I know, you know, our team will as a group, and we'll be critical of ourselves on that and learn from it.
Jalen, what's the mood of the team like after losing 2 games in 4 days here?
I mean, you play the game to win. So obviously we're competitive in that and trying to figure that out. We got some work to do. That's all that matters. You know, we got an opportunity in front of us to really embrace the things that are coming our way and grow from it. So there's always lessons to be learned in these things, and it's a lesson. You know, we gotta choose to learn from it.
Was Nick's messaging any different after this?
He's obviously competitive as they get, and just about, you know, taking accountability and taking ownership. Some of the themes that you've heard, taking accountability, taking ownership, and owning the things that you can control. And so that's how we really can. That's the only way we can really grow, is if we are honest with ourselves and look ourselves in the mirror about some of the things we can improve on and go out there and do it, you know.
Based on the way defenses have played you at the offense, is there a level of predictability, do you think, in the offense right now?
I'm sorry?
Based on the way the defenses have been playing you, do you think there's a level of predictability within your offense?
You don't look at it that way. Not as a quarterback. You know, you got so many opportunities in the game. You got so many opportunities in the game to take advantage of it. We want to go out there and play the type of ball we know we're capable of playing. And a lot of that, you know, for the brand of ball we've kind of established ourselves to play. It's been playing with good detail, being smart in situations, and being able to capitalize on some of these big point swings in the game. And so we got to do a better job at that, and I have to lead better in terms of executing in those situations, because that starts with me in the red zone, in 2 minute, operationally. So still digging. I'm digging and trying to control the things that I can with that and grow from it all.
Still a lot of season left, but does this feel like a turning point type spot in the year for you?
It just feels like an opportunity for us to grow.
First drive of the
on the default to Devontae, you know, you guys just missed on one of those from the Saints week. What are you kind of seeing, and like how big of a moment do you think that was?
I think another opportunity to. I think we're down 10 at that time, but another opportunity to keep attacking them and capitalize. And I didn't give them a good ball, so that's something that I own, and that's something that I'm, gonna work on.
You spoke about situationally what happened in the end of the half sequence.
Say that again?
The end of the half sequence, what happened there?
Yeah, well, you don't have any timeouts. You got to be really smart about how you manage the clock, being able to get out of bounds, and we could have managed that better. Ultimately, a sense of urgency maybe to get the first down or get out of bounds, but as a carrier of the ball, knowing the situation, and I guess having a plan with the ball in my hands with that, and so that's a good situation. I know that'll foster a lot of conversation within our offensive group, and be able to learn from Coach Scott and KP and Nick from that, and kind of collaborate and see how we can grow and improve from that.
You guys came out and ran the ball effectively on the first two carries, and you had a few others after that. But from your vantage point, what have been the biggest issues with getting the run game where it needs to be?
We got to execute. We just got to execute. It's the same thing, same word. We got to execute. It takes great detail, making sure we're in the right play, leveraging ourselves. And so it comes down to execution, and that's something that begins with me. I could have been better throughout the whole evening, and I'll learn from it.
What makes you confident, despite some of the inconsistencies through the first 6 weeks, that this will get?
Jalen Hurts addressing the media at MetLife Stadium following the 34-17 loss. Just a quick thought on that, Seth. Had opportunities today. He was asked also about predictability. He said he doesn't look at that as a quarterback. Well, if it's affecting your play as a quarterback and the overall efficiency of your offense, don't you have to look at that as an offense when the other team, as you pointed out earlier in postgame, know what's coming next?
No, absolutely, because what teams are going to do is they're looking at your patterns, and when your patterns remain the same, then predictability becomes an issue. From week 1 to week 6, this offense looks the same. I wrote down and underlined predictability, and then underneath it, I wrote week 1 to week 6, the team looks the same. So this is the clear definition, and for him to say that you don't look at it that way, that tells me that, you're not cognizant of how teams are going to try to attack you, because your predictability is what teams are basing their game planning on.
All right, let's see what Nick Sirianni has to say about this loss as well. He's at the podium now.
Just get up and keep fighting. Got a lot of things to fix. Been here before. Let's go.
Do you think the offense has gotten too predictable at times, especially in the run game?
Obviously, anytime, I think there were some good moments in the run game today. Got ourselves behind the sticks a little bit in the second half on some of the runs there. So we'll look at everything right there. We know we have the guys up front to be able to do that. Obviously, we got to do a good job putting them in positions to succeed, and then we got to go execute. So, we'll look at everything. Running a bunch of different types of schemes, but we'll look at everything to see what we're doing well and treat this like a bye week here this weekend.
One of the things you talk about all the time. Did you feel like they were more physical than you tonight?
Again, I don't think we played our brand of football or coached our brand of football today. Give them credit. They did a good job. And so again, have to look at the tape, with how things kind of played out, there today. But we definitely, that's not to our standard in all phases and in coaching. So, we'll look at it and we'll get better from it.
Second half, I think, third straight game, haven't scored a point. Obviously, you got to look at this one, but any themes coming out of there that you can put your finger on?
I think, we've had some 3-and-outs. Obviously, today had a couple 3-and-outs. Then we had the one drive that kind of got going, and then had to punt there around midfield, and then we had our 2 turnovers today. Obviously. That stalled out drives, which we've been pretty good at taking care of the football. Today, they made a couple plays. We got to be a little bit better with our fundamentals going to the ground there on the one fumble. But they made a couple plays and stalled out some of the drives with that.
Up to this point, your defense has been more than reliable. In this game, what changed in your approach once you were chasing points?
Say that. Ask me that one more time. I'm sorry.
Your defense has been reliable up to this point. Just how did the game change once you guys found yourself in a different spot chasing points?
Defensively or offensively?
Offensively. How you played, and did it change how you approached?
Well, yeah. When you're down, 3 scores there in the fourth quarter. Obviously, it changes your approach of you got to go fast. You got to try to get as many possessions as you possibly can. You got to hit explosives. Can't run quite as much right there in those scenarios. So yeah, obviously that changes your approach a little bit.
Have you seen things in the first month of the season that concerned you that could have led to this? Have you seen things in that first month, in those first 4 games, that could have led to what you've seen in these past 2 weeks?
Yeah, you look at every game, and then you look at ways how you can get better after every game. Win, lose, draw. You go back and you say, hey, how can we get better here? No, not necessarily on that.
Nick, what are you seeing on the sideline in terms of the mood of the team? I know obviously execution, coaching on the field, but when you're on the sideline, what's the mood of the team?
Everyone just wants to get everything going and get it fixed. And saw a lot of great communication on the sideline today. A lot of the guys encouraging each other, picking each other up. Trying to, again, but all 3 phases weren't good enough today. Coaching wasn't good enough today. But as far as our sideline and the way the guys interact with each other on the sideline, now I get to, see the initial part of it, and then I'm back on there for the offense or the defense or the special teams. But saw a lot of good communication on there today to, of what they were seeing. And I don't see necessarily anything negative there, if that's what you're referring to. But just guys wanting to work and to get it right.
With Jalen Carter.
Obviously he didn't play today. He had the heel that was on the injury report the other day and wasn't able to go.
What makes you confident that things will get back in the right direction?
What makes me confident? Guys we got in the room, coaches we got in the room, players we have in the room. This is life in the NFL. You're going to have some ups. You're going to have some downs. We've been here before. Last year, obviously, we started out 4-2 as well. It's just a different way that we got there. So, yeah, there is no panic on us. It's hey, get back up, go back to work, you know, and get better from it. It's really that simple. But love the guys that we have, love the coaches that we have. Obviously, this group of guys and group of coaches have, you know, been to the top of the mountain, been to, you know, playoffs, and figure out ways. And I know we can figure out ways to get this thing rolling. We've been good at that in the past, and we got to be good at that again.
Are you seeing in-game offensive adjustments to the level you need to?
Yeah, I mean, again, anytime that, you know, obviously a couple weeks ago against the Rams, it was good adjustments to lead that second half comeback. You know, obviously we've stalled out here the last couple weeks here with our second half. You know, there, but you know, it's a combination of a lot of different things. It's hard to say, hey, this is all on this or this is all on that. Obviously, today it was all three phases there that we and coaching, we, you know, wasn't good enough on any of those, and I always would take responsibility of that as the head coach when that looks like that. But yeah, again, they did some. I wouldn't say they did anything drastically different than what happened in the first half. You know, again, we had a couple 3-and-outs, and then we had a drive that stopped, and then we had a couple turnovers there. So combination of different things. We got to be better as with our coaching. We got to be better with our execution.
Are you getting so much about the things that don't require talent? But, you know, there was then a half sequence that you guys didn't execute today. There's still been penalties. Those types.
Nick Sirianni addressing the media at MetLife Stadium. We're going to break that down when we come back, as well as give you the drive of the game right here on the Verizon postgame show.
Picture this. You play big-time college football, you get some NIL money. You get drafted in the NFL, and you start making real big money. However, you're 23 years old and you don't have any credit. Here at Mid-Penn Bank, we're helping these athletes establish credit through secured credit cards and other strategies that can help develop their credit now, so as they continue to make money, they can have long-term success financially.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional-grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Recovery Unplugged. If you remember, in the second quarter, the Philadelphia Eagles ran 4 consecutive tush pushes for a touchdown and a 17-3 lead over the New York Giants. And then after that, unfortunately, the drive of the game took place for the New York Giants. This one, a 15-play drive that lasted 67 yards and also 5 minutes and 37 seconds, and it was capped off by Cam Sattebo's 4-yard touchdown run. On that drive, the Giants were able to eat up the 2-minute warning and also able to convert 3 first downs on that drive. They took the lead and never looked back after that. That gave them a 20-17 lead over the Philadelphia Eagles, and that was pretty much a wrap, unfortunately, after that. To break it down a little bit further, you just heard from Jalen Hurts. You just heard from Nick Sirianni. First and foremost, Derek Gunn, you've covered so many coaches in your time, my friend, veteran reporter that you are. I hear Nick Sirianni say, when he's asked the question, are you making enough adjustments in these games? And his first response was, yeah. And then he highlights against the Rams, skips over what happened against the Bucs and the Broncos, and then obviously tonight against the New York Giants. Just covering, or does he really believe in the staff that's around him?
No, he's covering. No, he believes in his staff, but he's covering. He's not going to sit there and openly admit to you that, yes, we have flaws in his team right now, because he knows that's going to start a firestorm that they can't put out. So basically what he's doing is he's taking the bullets for everybody. You know, this starts with Kevin Patullo, and Sirianni is the one that pushed him to be hired as the OC. So, yes, he's got to cover for his guy, and that's what a head coach does. He's not going to start finger-pointing now. They've lost 2 in a row, but they're still at the top of the division. Although Washington is a half game behind them, they're still at the top of the division right now. And they got a lot of problems to fix. They've got extended time now to fix it before they hit the road to go play Minnesota in that dome. Mm-hmm. So he understands that this offense is not as fluid as we want it to be right now. I mean, your running game, your marquee running back is averaging 45.5 yards a game. 45.5 yards a game coming off a 2,000-yard season. And I said there was no way he was getting close to 2,000. I never in my life thought he would be averaging under 50 yards a game right now. You still have time to fix that. The passing game is off. You still have time to fix that. The play calling, getting plays in, it's off. You still have time to fix that. But there's a part of me that believes we're going to still be talking about this stuff week 7, week 8, week 9, week 10, but just different variations of what it is.
If I was certain that, if I believed that there was room for change, then we would have seen some change. This football team, unfortunately, is what they are, and they will be what they are. They cannot run the football. That's apparent. Until the offensive line makes up its mind and gets healthy enough to dominate, they're not going to run the football. And they have to make adjustments to how teams are playing them when they do run the football, because they're jumping and they're playing on our side of the line of scrimmage, you know. And I say that we are who we are and will be what we'll be because, you know, there's no cornerback that's going to come and save us on the other side. You know, if there's a player out there worth his salt, he's on somebody's roster. And if he's out there, you know, he's either injured or he can't play. Okay? A couple of things. Jalen talked about growth. Okay? You think after 6 weeks we see some growth, but the truth of the matter is they still are who they are. They're still making the same mistakes. They're still playing the same brand of football that they played in week 1 here in week 6, D-Gun. So you tell me, where's the growth? Because the season is already more than 1 quarter over, okay? Situational football before the half. He talked about working through that. It's a learning experience. Come on. Nick gets up there and talks about situational football. Jalen talks about it, you know, all the time. You mean to tell me that even with Kevin Patullo in your ear, because you're in hurry-up mode, that he didn't tell you beforehand, it's 3rd down, we got to get the 1st down, we don't have any timeouts left, you can't slide before you get to the 1st down line and leave yourself in 4th and 2 and stand there, you know, watching the clock run out, okay? And then let's go over to, you know, Nick Sirianni. We got a lot of things to fix. Man, you've had a lot of things to fix for 6 weeks. And we don't see any improvement. We had 1/2 of good football in one game, 1/2 of good football in another game, 3/4 of good football last week, and 1/4 of good football this week. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you tell me what the hell is it that they're fixing, okay? Sounds to me like you're just spinning your wheels. Good moments in the run game, he said, Mark.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah, you did have good moments in the run game. In the first quarter, the first two runs, and then you effectively made yourself one-dimensional by having Jalen throw the ball the next 10 plays in a row instead of piggybacking off of what Saquon had established with his first 2 runs. Or coordinating your offense off of those first 2 plays that he had success with, D-Gun. Okay? Then you got away from it. And then we got the old trusty. We got to put him in better position.
The old standby. I do have one specific for you, by the way. And it's what you talked about on pregame from Nick Sirianni. Brand of football. We got to get on our brand of football. What is the Eagles' brand of football this year? Because you talked about it on pregame. If you want to talk about an identity, well, last year it was pretty simple. You're a running team. You're going to impose your will with a great offensive line, a phenomenal season from your running back as well, and a quarterback that could win you a Super Bowl if he had to make the throws. And this year, this team that we're watching looks nothing like that. The offensive line is getting the brakes beat off them through a lot of occasions. Yes, there's moments where they're giving plenty of time to Jalen Hurts, but there's also moments where Jordan Mailata, one of your standbys, the best football player in the NFL last year, according to Pro Football Focus, is getting manhandled. So the running the football isn't there. When you need to pass the football, unfortunately, more often than not, it's not there. What is the brand of football that this team can go back to being that can be their bread and butter?
I think they've fallen in love with what they accomplished last year without realizing that, every year is a new year. You'll hear them say it, but they don't act that way because the brand of football that you see doesn't reflect the necessary changes. If you can't run the football, then why don't you throw the football early to set up the run game and then have your coordinated pass plays coordinate with your run plays? Now you can have that success that you're looking for. But I don't believe that this Philadelphia Eagles team will look anything like it looked last year. It's almost an impossibility because the other 30 teams watch the other one team that they beat show you how to stop the most devastating running back in the last 15 years. And they have a blueprint. And they're executing that blueprint week after week after week. So if you're going to show me a heavy box, then that means that I've got to go the opposite direction. I've got to throw the ball until I can make you get out of the heavy box. And I've got to give my wide receivers and my tight ends the options to and ways to get open. Like what I would like to see, if Jalen Hurts steps up to the line of scrimmage, and I don't care what the play call is, and he looks out at A.J. Brown, and A.J. Brown's got a corner off him 10 yards. Snap the ball, raise up and throw in the ball. You got a one-on-one situation right now. Why do all the other top-flight wide receivers in the National Football League have that built into their offense? Okay? Redefine how your offense actually works to take advantage of leverage. Because teams that play against us, they certainly know how to look at our weaknesses and take advantage of them. We got both of our outside linebackers playing with the wrong foot up. I don't understand why the coaches allow them to do that. It doesn't hurt you that much, but when it does, it's devastating. And it hurt them on the edges tonight. Every time Cam Sattebo, they ran him outside or they ran a toss, they got the corner anytime they wanted. You want to know why? Because the defensive ends stand there or the outside linebackers stand there with the wrong foot up. And every single time that the play comes towards them, they got to step in the bucket before they can redirect. And by the time they step in the bucket and redirect, guess what? The offensive lineman and the tight ends is coming in motion. The pullers are already on them. If I can see that, pray God tell me why our defensive staff can't see that. Start making these guys stand the right way. Your outside foot should always be back and your inside foot should always be up. I don't give a damn how comfortable it is for you to stand that way.
No, it doesn't make a lot of sense, unfortunately. Now, there were some injuries that took place in this game and also leading up to this game. We're going to get the explanation from the good doctor, Dr. Bruce Grosinger. When we return, we'll talk about Jalen Carter, talk about Quinyon Mitchell. Also, Reed Blankenship left the game for a time as well, and Landon Dickerson get an update as well.
One last thing before you go.
Yes.
One of the reporters asked Nick, why are you so sure that you can get things turned around? Nick said, because I believe in these guys and we've been to the mountaintop. I thought we weren't talking about defending champions.
No, that's I don't recall a championship. It was the champion. The Eagles told me that never happened. They're not even defending Super Bowl champions. First team to say that.
I just had to throw that in.
And it's worth pointing out. Thank you. When we return, we'll talk to Dr. Bruce Grossinger here on the Verizon postgame show.
There's a number on the screen.
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 There is a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
Business owners love the path of least resistance. So when it comes to their banking, that's where we want to help them. Whether they're working on their consumer lending, their wealth, their commercial lending, their insurance, our focus is to help plan holistically to ensure financial success both in the business and the owner's personal lives. So reach out to one of our professionals today.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
I know what you're thinking. Total glow up. What's her secret? Fine, I'll spill. I totally upgraded with Verizon. Everyone gets a free phone with any plan, even if you're already a customer, like me. Now I have Google Gemini. It's like a little glam squad in my pocket. Gemini, what eye makeup goes with this lipstick?
I'd suggest a classic cat eye.
Wow, setting the bar high for daycare pickup. Get in on this.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Mid-Penn Bank. Unfortunately, we saw a couple of names pop up on the injury list this week. It was Saquon Barkley being one of them. Said it was just general soreness. He needed to take care of the body, and it was really just a walkthrough that he missed, so nothing worth bragging about. But then all of a sudden, yesterday, you see Jalen Carter's name pop up with a heel injury. With more information on that, we welcome in Dr. Bruce Grossinger. Dr. Bruce, what went down with Jalen Carter, and how worried should we be after he had to miss today's game?
I don't think we need to be that worried. He did walk into the stadium, and I saw a video of him literally walking through the basement of MetLife Stadium. So I understand that he is playing through a strain of his heel, a bit of a plantar fasciitis, and it was a game-time decision, and it was determined that he not play. So I think this is an inflammatory situation, and he's a tough guy. He's been playing through a left shoulder injury, and I think it's likely against the Vikings next week that Carter will be back, and they certainly need him.
All right, 10 days seems like a good layoff to get better from this?
I think that's fortuitous that they have the longer time interval between now and the Vikings game, yes.
My biggest concern, Doc, is Landon Dickerson and what his situation is and how long he may be out.
Yeah, I share your concern. They didn't put him on injured reserve, so that's a good sign because that's usually about a 4-week approximation. He did have a high ankle strain, so I would guess, and I'm, again, approximating another 2 to 3 weeks. That is, he might be back for the home game against the Giants, certainly revenge. And but he's a guy who's played through a lot, and we know he has kind of chronic knee conditions and this high ankle strain, and so that is a great concern. We don't know exactly, but they haven't put him on injured reserve, so that's one favorable statistic.
Another injury that we have to talk about is Quenyon Mitchell, a hamstring injury. He missed the majority of this game. How much of a concern is that going forward?
Well, I think just inherently it's a great concern. He's your best cornerback. When we look at hamstring strains, as D. Gunn noted earlier in the discussion tonight, the majority of hamstring strains are grade 1, 60% are mild, less than 5% diameter injuries, typically without functional impairment. Another, perhaps 30%, are considered moderate hamstring strains, and we've seen players battle through that. We don't know exactly. We're going to find out tomorrow when they examine him to see what his functional level is. We can hope that he only has a mild hamstring strain. Again, MetLife Stadium is a terrible field, so they may have opted to keep him out because of that, hopefully. But I say 60% are considered mild, and they're 1 to 2 week injuries with hamstring strains.
Eagles pass rush has been a big concern throughout this season. Nolan Smith, obviously, on IR. Do you know anything about his progression while on IR?
They're really not obliged to release any information when he's on IR, and there is none available. So he has a triceps injury, not a complete tear. He didn't require surgery, but we don't know any more than that.
Okay. Also, Lane Johnson has been pretty banged up throughout this year. Got through the game today, was addressing the media at his locker today. The stinger injury looks like it's a thing of the past now?
Yeah, from my understanding, a stinger, as we talked about 3 weeks in a row, is neuropraxia. That means a nerve root that has transient dysfunction but no structural injury. So I think Lane is fully recovered from his neck, and they certainly need him. So I think that's a good sign prognostically.
All right, fair enough. Dr. Bruce Grossinger, we appreciate you stopping by as per usual to give us the inside scoop on these injuries with the Eagles.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. One thing I want to go back to here, and I haven't heard an answer to this question, and Gunnar, maybe you could shed some light on this, and Seth, I asked you this during the game. The Eagles had Shane Steichen. Obviously, unfortunately, when you have good coordinators, they end up going somewhere else, just like Shane Steichen did. He ended up with the Indianapolis Colts. The Eagles then hired Brian Johnson. They had Kevin Patullo on the staff, and they said, thanks, but no thanks. They gave him the associate head coach role. Good for him at that promotion, but then they went to Brian Johnson ultimately. That crashed and burned, unfortunately. Then they brought in a very experienced play caller, a guy that had 5 years of experience already, both in Dallas and then had 1 year in San Diego. That's Kellen Moore, who's now a head coach there with the Saints. Why was now the time? What did Kevin Patullo improved upon? Why was now the time that the Eagles felt, that Nick Sirianni, Howie Roseman, and Jeffrey Lurie felt, this is the guy that we need to give the baton to carry on the success of the Super Bowl season? What did he do to convince them this is time for him to shine?
Well, a lot of times it's a natural progression to try to promote from within. You want to try to promote your coaches because if they succeed, it makes you look good as well. You look at how many coaches Andy Reid promoted from within, and look at how many coaches ended up branching out being head coaches and having success in the National Football League. At the time, Patullo was here, but they had Brian Johnson. Obviously, they felt at that time Brian Johnson was more ready to be an OC more so than Kevin Patullo. You need a little bit more grooming, you know, and then after Brian Johnson flopped and Kellen Moore became available, you're going to bring in somebody who's had a great measure of success both in Dallas and with the LA Chargers in terms of running offense. And you came in, sure enough, look at what he did last year with his offense. When it sputtered for 4 games, he got the ship right, and then that thing took off, and the rest is history. And then when Moore got the head coaching job down in New Orleans, again, you want to keep somebody in-house who already knows your system, and you figure if Patullo had been here a number of years and had groomed a number of years under several people to get to this point, it was his natural opportunity to take the reins of this offense and move forward. Through 6 games, it appears as though Nick Sirianni may have made a mistake in terms of promoting from within, a mistake he's going to have to live with now for the rest of the season.
Here's another point of confusion. Seth, you've been in there, you've seen these coaches before and all that stuff, but here's the thing that I'm really confused about. So Kellen Moore was supposed to be the cure-all for this. If you remember, a press conference where Nick Sirianni was rightfully asked, this wasn't a hot take question when I believe it was Tim McManus of ESPN that asked the question, when Nick Sirianni laid out the responsibilities of the defensive coordinator and said he's going to be in charge of the defense, offensive coordinator is going to be in charge of the offense. Okay, well, Nick, even though he wasn't calling plays, maintained responsibility of game planning. But all that was going to go to Kevin Patullo. So now all of a sudden, 1 year removed, is Nick Sirianni even more involved in not just play calling, but also more involved in game planning? Or is that also Kevin Patullo having his fingerprints all over that as well?
Well, I think you have to go back and you got to remember that Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie hired Kellen Moore. That was not a Nick Sirianni hire. And I'm pretty sure he hired both, Vic Fangio. They hired Vic Fangio, and they hired Kellen Moore. So this whole CEO head coach, you remember that?
Yeah.
So, well, what are you going to do, Nick? Well, I'm going to be the CEO. I'm going to be in the defensive room, the offensive room, special team. I'm going to do a little bit of everything. Well, I can promise you he ain't CEO coaching right now. He's got a lot to do with this offense and how it looks. And it looks and smells a lot like it did in year one when he had to turn it over to Shane Steichen. That's the thing that scares me. Sometimes it happened early, last year with Kellen Moore. It seemed like, there was too many cooks in the kitchen. And, when you got too many cooks in the kitchen, you got a pot of stew on, and one chef has already, put the seasoning in it, and he turns around to chop up some onions, and the other cook comes over, D-Gun, and brings the salt out and puts some more in it, and then you take why is it so damn salty? That's kind of like what it was like. If you're going to hire a head coach, an offensive coordinator, well, let him coordinate the offense and give him total control over it, But I think that this move was made not only because they were coming off a Super Bowl, and Nick probably said, this is my guy, and I want to move him up the ladder. But I also believe that, this move was made because it gives Nick Sirianni some semblance of power and belonging when it comes to what's being done on the offensive side of the ball. And like I said, we've seen what that's looked like in the past, and it looks eerily the same.
All right. We'll talk about the path forward over the next 10 days. The Eagles have to attempt to get some of this right before taking on the Vikings in Minnesota. Another road game ahead of the Eagles in 10 days. We'll break it down even more when we come back. This is the Verizon postgame show.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Weber Display and Packaging. Nearing the end of an absolutely horrific night in Philadelphia sports, including this 34-17 loss from your Philadelphia Eagles at the hands of the New York Giants. Gentlemen, when you think about a night like tonight, you think about the next 10 days ahead of the Eagles, you think about almost a mini bye week. Now, the bye week, it was a blessing last year that it was after 4 games, and the Eagles certainly had a lot to get right. But when you look at what they have gotten wrong so far, even the close games where they found a way to win, they still showed a lot of problems. What can they do, if anything, over this mini bye week to get more on the right track, Seth?
Pray.
Okay. Bring in the Lord.
No,
Howie, get on it. Get on that phone.
I would like to see what the playbook looks like. If the playbook is simplistic, then there's not much that they can do. If the playbook is complex and there's, some things within that playbook, that they haven't implemented, well, obviously, there's some changes that can be made. But you also, they're going to have to wait to the real bye week to be able to self-scout and say, okay, every second down and 3, this is what we run. We come out, like I keep trying to say, every single time Devontae Smith goes across in motion, it seems like they run the football. If I can see it, I think everybody else can see it too. At what point do you look at those types of things and say, well, okay, let's send Devontae in motion, go play action, and get all these guys biting up in the line, thinking that Saquon is running the ball, and then I got one-on-ones outside and we can cook. So I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know what they can fix, because I don't know how complex and how much of their playbook is still left that they can make changes and how innovative they can be. It seems to me, D, they're not great innovators. Like, they've got a system and they run it. And they run it the way that they run it because they believe that they got superior athletes on the outside and at running back, and that they can impose their will on people. Well, right now they're not imposing their will on people. People are imposing their will on them. So their adjustments are going to be a little lackluster until they get to a place where they can begin to fool some defenses a little bit.
Tonight is very similar to what Philadelphia sports fans had to endure this past weekend. Phillies lost. Penn State gets upset by a winless UCLA team. Eagles lose to Denver. The only replacement tonight is Penn State didn't play, but the Flyers lost tonight in the season opener. So it's a 0-for-3 for Philadelphia sports teams across the board tonight.
I need a drink.
I do believe. I'm looking here at Tim McManus's Twitter account, and Lane Johnson said part of the key is being less predictable on offense moving forward.
Oh, boy.
Being less predictable. Now, Lane Johnson is my guy. He speaks his mind. He's not going to pull any punches. And he's played a lot of football, and he's had a lot of success with this organization. Here's what I think. We've said that this team is what it is, and I'm going to go a step farther and say I think they can take this same playbook and make variations of it. Prime example is when they ran the tush push, but they didn't actually run the tush push. They ran a sweep for a touchdown. You can take these basic plays. I've seen offenses do it all the time. You can take these basic plays that are not working, but give it some other type of illusion and try to have success with it. I want to say they don't run jet sweeps. They don't run reverses. Try some of that stuff. Go to more stretch zone runs instead of straight ahead run plays. Go to more stretch runs. When Miles Sanders was here, things are allowed to run the stretch runs all the time. You can take what you have in house and put a different icing on it to make it taste different. And you can take that chocolate cake and put chocolate frosting on. You can put vanilla. You know what I'm saying? We've been talking food.
You guys are really trying to make trying to make us all hungry.
Yeah, but you can take an offense and make it look a little different to give some teams something different to look at that they're not seeing on film.
You know what the problem is, D? The problem is if you're wired that way, then you have the ability to do that. But when your philosophies aren't aligned that way, like you look at a guy like Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, when he was with the Lions, he would come out with some of the most outlandish stuff, okay? Because he could sit in the lab as an OC and just draw up stuff. Like if he had a formation, he could sit back and figure out creative ways to go about, because that's the way his mind works. You understand what I'm saying? Like when I look at defenses, I look at it from a creative way. Like when I'm looking at, I take Jihad Campbell for example, okay? When they drafted him, I sat down at my kitchen table and I drew up a myriad of different ways that I could use him on the ball, off the ball, blitzing from on the ball, 3-man line with him lined up in the middle, running all kinds of stunts. So my mind works that way because I was bred in the game in a way that was extremely creative. Like it took us 2 years to really learn the 46 defense. And when people think about our defense, they think all we ran was the 46 defense, but we ran everything, okay? We ran a 40 front, a base 4-3. We ran a 30 front, a base 3-4. Clyde would stand up as the will linebacker, and I would stand up as the Sam linebacker, and then you had the two other linebackers back off the ball. You understand what I'm saying? We ran unders, we ran overs, we ran even fronts. We had extra backer against heavy sets where we took a cornerback. So my mind, and we had blitzes like for days. So by the time, I got to a point where I could digest all of that stuff and I understood it, now my mind began to operate, in a different way when I thought about defensive football. So when I see these coaches come out with these vanilla tactics and thinking that they work, it's like, where's the creativity, to what you do? If you've got plays, there are like so many different ways and so many different things that you can do with the plays. And with these players that they have on this offense, can you imagine a guy with the creativity level of a Ben Johnson with these players, man? Like, they would score 50 points a game. Easy. So when you talk about their ability to adjust, how much creativity does Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni possess? Have they taken somebody else's offense and they're running somebody else's offense, or have they created their own? And have they morphed what they run with what other people do?
You talk about Ben Johnson being gone, taking over Chicago now. And you look at Detroit's offense now. John Morton is now the offensive coordinator for the Lions. They're still running the same gadget plays. Now, they came out a little sluggish against Green Bay in their season opener, but look at the volume of points they've been racking up since that season opener. And you look at the highlights on the NFL Network and stuff, they're still running the gadget plays. Running back grabs the ball, stop, throws a pass, tight end. They're still running those gadget plays. And I'm like, why can't this be more creative? I think they can.
You want to know why? Because Johnny Morton was, a wide receiver?
Yes.
Well, he was a wide receiver coach under Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson,
yes.
So that same playbook,
yes,
he still got it.
Yes.
He watched Ben Johnson do what he's doing. And I can't say with certainty, but I believe that Johnny Morton, his brain didn't work that way until he saw the Mad Scientist. And then that spurred in him, oh my goodness, well, I can take this formation and do this and do this. Okay? So he thinks in a more creative way. It's hard for me to look at Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo and see creativity in them. What I see is, this is our playbook. These are the plays that we run. Here, Jalen, run them. Don't deviate. Don't get up to the line of scrimmage and look out there and see AJ with a cornerback 12 yards off the ball and just raise up and throw it to him. No, we don't do that, okay? This is how we run our offense, and this is what we want it to look like, And when you're closed-minded like that, as a coordinator, and you don't have any creativity, you get yourself pigeonholed. And this is where this offense is right now. They're boxed in. They're pigeonholed. And they can't get out of what they do because they don't have the creative nature to do so.
We have two more opportunities to see this offense blossom and expand the way we would like to see it, the way we kind of imagine seeing. Number one, right now, with this extended time off before they play the Vikings. And number two, when the bye week comes up. So coming out of this fiasco and coming out of a bye week, I think that's when we'll really decide and define what this offense is or is not. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. As I listen to Seth talk, I'm thinking, this is not going to turn out well. But
I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
I hope I'm wrong, and you guys know me well enough to know that if they come out and they start doing some creative stuff, I'll be the first one to swallow, what I just said. I'll apologize. But from where I sit and the things that I've seen and my experiences, it's a big difference between those guys who have that creativity. They always have it. It's hard for guys who don't live in that world of creativity that's got a playbook that's pretty black and white and straightforward. It's hard for them to deviate from what they know. And they get kind of, complacent and arrogant about what they do. Like, it ain't working because y'all ain't executing it, rather than it being, no, you being out coached on the other side of the ball.
On that note, Gunnar, I think this is a continuation of the quote you just read from Tim McManus.
Yeah.
This is by way of Jeff McClain, Inquirer.com. Lane Johnson on what's wrong with the offense. To what you were saying, a lot. This is what he said. A lot. I don't know if we're being predictable, but it seems a lot more harder than what it needs to be. Maybe moving forward, we have a little bit more variety hitting the perimeter some.
There you go.
So maybe that's what
maybe
that's what they'll go over for 10 days.
There you go.
And not just hand Jalen a play chart that says, "Hey, memorize these 5 plays and then we'll be good. Don't deviate."
I love when guys get to the end of their career and they don't give a damn what they say.
That's good for us, though.
Right, yeah.
That's great for us.
Well, honestly.
Listen, no doubt about it. But would Lane Johnson have said this 10 years ago?
No.
5 years ago, he would have. 10 years ago, no. But for the last 5 years, Lane's his own man.
Yeah.
He's going to say what he pleases.
All right, let's end on a good note. Do we have something to give away? We have something hanging with us? They have a fine...
This young lady, Angelique, just won herself, a Seth Joyner jersey.
Yeah.
Angelique!
So, Angelique, I don't know if there she is. She said they better listen if that's her. But, yeah, she's won the jersey. Angelique, make sure that you email us at sethjoynerinfo@gmail.com. Send us your address, and we will get it out to you. Our newest winner of the Verizon pre- and post-game show giveaway. And we'll be doing it every week. We got some tickets coming up, y'all. I don't know if you want them now, but we got them. No, I'm just
They respond,
joking.
we're good.
I'm just joking.
But let me just say this for Angelique, all right? The Flyers lost. The Phillies lost. The Eagles lost. Angelique, 1-0.
You won.
She's our winner
That's right.
tonight.
That's right.
Thank you, Angelique. Appreciate it. For Derek Gunn, for Seth Joyner, for Dr. Bruce Grossinger, and also our friends over at the Tinderbox that had us enjoy a fine cigar while we watched this game. That was one good thing that came out of it, unfortunately. And the White Dog Cafe here in Havertown Haverford, excuse me, that has been feeding us throughout the season. To this point, we thank them as well. We'll see you guys. Try not to miss us too much in the next 10 days when the Eagles are back at it in Minnesota against the Vikings. We'll see you guys then.